Welcome everyone to the lecture today and learning from legends. And today legend is going to be World Champion number 9 Tigran Petrosian. And to who is familiar with Petrosian, what you know about him? The reason I picked Petrosian because I'm from Armenia, he is from Armenia, and I went to his chess school. And it's part of the reason maybe why I play chess, because Petrosian, because when he was a world champion and I was growing up, and it was a big thing in Armenia, small country, having a world champion, he won in 1963. So Petrosian, world champion number 9, okay? And who did Petrosian defeat to become a world champion? Who knows that? Yes? Oh, Pete Botvinnik, yeah? Yeah. Okay, he has won many games. Petrosian, if you don't know his games, you might be under the impression that he was making a lot of draws, playing it safe, and things like that. But when Petrosian attacked, you're in trouble. That's what a lot of people say. When Petrosian attacks, you are in trouble, because the guy calculates all the way, He knows that his attack is going to be successful. He didn't attack too often, but when he attacked, he usually win. And I prepared 2 games to show you today, and this game in particular, he's going to defeat a very strong player in just 21 moves, and that player is Viktor Korchnoi. So you don't see Korchnoi lose too many games in 21 moves. And here he lost against Petrosian in a candidates tournament. Back in the day, 1962, when they had these candidates tournaments, this was round 23. So it was a very long tournament, So in the round 23, Petrosian defeated Korchnoi, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at the game, and I'll tell you more stories about Petrosian. I mentioned earlier lecture that one of the famous quotes is, he said, if somebody is playing the Dutch defense against you, what you should do?
Don't stop him.
Don't stop him from doing that. Let him play the Dutch, because he won every game he played against Dutch, because he thought Dutch is not a sound opening, and basically he had a crushing score. Earlier lecture today, if you missed it, we show a game that Petrosian won in 19 moves against a Finnish Grandmaster, against the Dutch defense, and he had a huge score against Dutch defense, against Stonewall. I basically studied all the best games he played, because when I was growing up, I studied a lot of Petrosian and Karpov games. So here we see against Korchnoi, he plays c4, and Petrosian was more positional player, and he played e4 also in the early stages of his career, but he played a lot of c4 and d4. So c4, c5, knight f3, knight f6, and now he plays d4. Pawn takes d4, knight d4 he went. So we have an English setup here. g6. White goes knight c3, d5. It's probably more common to play bishop g7 here, and after that you will transpose into the hedgehog type of setup. So this setup you see on the screen here, this is called hedgehog, okay? When you have the structure with the e and c pawn, d pawn is exchanged with the c pawn, this is that structure, okay? Usually, basically, white plays f3, castle, queen d2, and put rook ft1, rook ac1, and this is how white will set up his pieces. Black usually castles, plays bishop d7, rook c8, and tries to get the development. It's probably slightly better for white, but black is very solid. So, but here in this game, Korchnoi, very aggressive player, he played d5. He didn't play the bishop g7, and here Petrosian played the interesting move, bishop g5. Idea behind it, obviously, just to take on f6 and damage the structure for Korchnoi and give him some problems. So I think the idea was correct. D takes c4, e3 first. Black is making a lot of pawn moves so far. c5, c takes d4, now d5, d takes c4. Too many pawn moves already have been played, and now after e3, white who just wants to take the pawn on c4 and just castle and have a comfortable position, slightly better. For example, if you play bishop d7, bishop c4, castles, castle, and a6, trying to play b5, a4 is a good move to stop it. Knight b d7, queen e2, and if you had to evaluate this position, how would you evaluate this, for example? So I want to give you a little time to think before you say white is better, okay? But what are the reasons you think white is better here? Yes? Lead in development, absolutely. That's very important. Black is still struggling with the development of his light square bishop. White is about to play rook ft1, rook ac1. He has complete development here very quickly. And actually, I think it's possible that black is going to have some serious problems here. So that's why white is better here, but this is not what Korchnoi did. Korchnoi played a dubious move, queen a5. He is trying to attack the bishop and play knight e4, but very risky decision, because you can't really develop your queen too early like this and expect that you're going to be fine. There are going to be problems here. But Korchnoi probably underestimated white's chances here. So your bishop is under attack. Do you want to waste time protecting it, or you want to just get rid of it and damage the structure? Damage the structure. Bishop takes f6. See, in chess, a lot of times we make mistakes because we don't play natural and simple moves. We try to get creative and try to do things that you shouldn't really do. Just play simple. If you try to play simpler, you'll make less mistakes. So, and take. Now, at the moment, white has 3 pieces developed, and in the meantime, black structure is a little bit questionable here. In particular, f7 is a very weak pawn here, and he's behind in development. So he plays the move bishop b4. I guess bishop g7 was recommended by Horowitz, and then trying to castle. But white is still better in my opinion. So bishop b4 is played. And now, if you just castle, then he can damage the structure with bishop takes c3. And then you have a weak pawn. It's not that much fun. So what move you can play first here? Yes? Rook c1, developing the rook. And also ready now to capture back with the rook on c3. Now, a6. Another dubious move, not castling for some reason. He should castle here. This was recommended by another famous grandmaster, Suetin, that black should castle. He's still worse, but it's better for him. So he played a6. He's trying to control the b5 square. Now white castles. And now no longer, if he castles, he is that safe, because you go knight d5. Activating the knight, putting pressure on f6, and as well on the bishop on b4 here. So we see now serious problems here for black. So Korchnoi went knight d7. And now what do we do here? Yes?
Queen b3?
Queen b3, he's going to castle. Queen b3, he's going to castle. What can you do first here? Yes? a3. Questioning the bishop. If he takes on c3, rook takes c3. White is clearly better, lead in development, control of the c-file pretty soon. Very nice position. But now he plays bishop e7. And now, white to play. Who is going to be able to play like Petrosian here? Basically, white is winning here. And he won the game quite convincingly against Korchnoi from now on. I want to give chance everybody to think a little bit. Yes?
Knight d5 was just like something we can
Absolutely agree.
Let's keep it with the castle.
Yeah, but then he goes queen d8 maybe, and still castles. Alex,
Bishop f7,
king f7,
queen d3,
king e8.
knight e6.
Yeah, but that's not so clear. Knight c5,
Queen a2.
bishop takes knight.
Maybe I can play like queen e6, knight e5, but probably not.
Yeah, that's like later. Look for that idea a little later. Okay? Little more preparatory work needed here for that. Natural move here. Yes. Queen b3 already suggested, I think. Yeah. Somebody suggested queen b3, I think. Queen b3 castles.
So we're saying we're picking fun. That's what I'm
Yeah, knight d5 is probably good, but
95 is probably the way to do it.
yeah, but then he goes queen d8 maybe, or bishop d8. Probably queen d8.
Maybe B4, and then after queen e8, going after his idea again.
Very good thinking. b4. Attacking the queen. Attacking the queen. Now, if the queen goes on d8, your idea works, Alex. Bishop f7. Very powerful.
So show me the
Yeah.
consequences if the queen takes the pawn.
We should consider the consequences of queen takes pawn. And we also consider the consequences of queen e5 as well. But this is not a very difficult to calculate. If he goes here, I think his queen is getting probably trapped after knight d5. Threatening knight c7. So bishop d8 is forced. And I think we play rook a1 here. And after this move,
That's what I would.
time to resign. So that's what Petrosian had in mind, okay? Remember, yeah, that when the queen gets in a position like this, where it's surrounded by many pieces, opponent's pieces, it's likely you're going to get trapped, okay? So you never want to take a pawn like this unless you have no choice. So he went queen e5, but here is a very powerful move here. This is why I'm showing you the game, because of this move. Because I don't think many players would play this move, including grandmasters. It's a very tough move to find. Think so. Even grandmasters I would have a hard time probably play this move, because it's, it's not easy. It's not easy.
We want to play
F4. Sacrifice the pawn with the check?
It's over, rookie one. It looks promising.
Playing like Petrosian, gentlemen, correct. Wait, you guys have the chess base there?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I need F4 as well.
Okay, okay. Because both players have computers, so So f4. Actually, queen takes c3 loses on the spot, because you just go king h1, and now you have three different threats: rook f3, rook e1, and knight d5. Yeah, this is a game probably Korchnoi wanted to forget, because it's bad, And so queen b8 only move. Now,
Queen.
yes,
Queen b3.
then he castles.
No.
Don't let him castle, okay? We don't want to let him castle anymore here. You must play energetically now.
I'm looking at F5.
Castle. August, don't let castle.
Okay, no castle.
Yes. Correct. Exclamation mark. He takes. Follow it up. Check. Correct. Well, let's take a look. If he goes king g7, we give a little check. If he goes king g8, quickly, 30 seconds, can you find a win? King g8. In your head. Yes?
Either knight g5 check or knight d8 check.
Okay, and then queen f7 comes in, correct? And if he goes king h6, quickly, what's the winning move?
Rook F3?
Rook f3, rook h3, yes. Checkmate. All right. So now he played king to e8. It's not that obvious. I mean, it's winning, but it's not like completely obvious how is it winning, you know? Yes? I think he wants to go knight d5 now. Activating the knight, because now the threat is to play knight c7 check. Checking the king and then putting the other knight on e6. So he goes bishop d6. And now black can barely move here. None of his pieces can really move here. He's like trapped in this position. We need more forces, yeah? We need more forces here to finish him off here. Very, very promising position, but need to finish him off here, yes?
96.
Absolutely 96. Knight c7 is coming here. Black cannot really move anything. Knight on d7 cannot move. f6 is hanging really stuck. So he plays b5. And now knight c7, correct. King e7. Continue. Now he played knight d4. This is a tough move to find because you really want to take this, but actually the best move is knight d4 because now you're threatening to play a knight c6 check, winning the queen, and also you're ready to jump in now with the queen on e6, creating two threats. So it goes king f8, and now before we go queen e6, I think we should take the rook, yeah? Take the rook. So he resigned here because if he takes, now queen e6. If he plays bishop e7, what is the winning move? After bishop e7, which move wins the game on the spot? Knight c6, correct. And the bishop is not protectable. He cannot go to c7. He cannot go to b8. c8 is hanging. So queen b8 is the only move. And now, again, Korchnoi resigned in a view of this variation, but still, what could have been done? Yes? Excellent. Queen goes here, and winning move is
Knight to e5.
knight to e5. It's possible, yeah? But what's the better version of that jump? That will attack more things. Knight e5, he might lose his queen, but get like a couple of pieces, then he will maybe fight. Knight Knight e7. Now the queen is under attack and c8 is under attack. The game is over. Okay? And that's why he won the game. So he resigned. He resigned after this move here, I think Knight a8. Okay? So this is the candidates tournament 1962. Petrosian versus Korchnoi. One of the quickest defeats probably Korchnoi had. A nice masterpiece, a miniature by Petrosian. Again, a lot of his games, yeah, maybe they were a bit dry, a lot of draws, but he also had many, many spectacular games, you know, that he won against very strong players. One of his best games is actually Petrosian Botvinnik game from the World Championship. I don't remember the exact game. I think it's game 24 or 25. It's the one that he has a king march starting from e2. White king march starts on e2, ends up on g8 in the endgame. And Botvinnik simply resigns. You know, and it was just incredible to see this game. So, you know, I can maybe find this game. That's another game. But so this is the Korchnoi game. Any questions regarding this game? Everybody understand? Okay. Now we're gonna move forward to the next game that I have prepared. And this is actually played in the Olympiad, 1970 Olympiad, okay? And this is Petrosian against, you know, a player 24-25. And again, 1970, 24-25, it was a you know, pretty strong rating, because back then there weren't that many people who had FIDE ratings even. So this person is Vargas Rodriguez, probably a grandmaster. So let's take a look here how Petrosian defeat him here in just 20 moves. Olympiad, and of course Petrosian played many Olympiads on USSR team. As I mentioned earlier, Armenia was part of USSR, and USSR, when they played these Olympiads, they were just unstoppable, because you had all the best players from the region, from Ukraine, from Latvia, from Estonia, Armenia, all the best players they could select, and they would come up with a team that is just basically, they're the best players in the world, and they're just playing on the same team. It's you know, it's like you have the chance to put, let's say now you put Aronyan, Kramnik, Ivanchuk, you put in one team, you know, all these players, and they would be very, very strong. And back then, again, most strong players, they came from USSR. So it's probably just a Fischer that was just from US, and the rest of the best players were from USSR. c4, e6, knight f3. Why does white play knight f3 here? Who knows the reasoning of knight f3 here? Yes?
It's avoiding the nimzo.
Avoiding the nimzo Indian defense. If you play knight c3 here, likely your opponent will play the bishop b4, because that's the point of this setup. So now they switch back to this. It could be QGD, Queen's Gambit declined, or it could be a semi-Slav. QGD or semi-Slav. Yes? Huh? You could play e3, but you can also play knight c3. Just developing the knight, okay? c6, e3, knight bd7. This is a setup that I play. I actually played quite a few games here at the club in the US Championship in this position. I play bishop d3 here. This is my setup here, and was shown to me by my good friend Gabriel Sargsyan. He is the big expert of these lines. So he taught me the bishop d3 line. I played in 2009 US Championship. The first US Championship held here. I played maybe 3 or 4 games in that championship in this line. Very good results. But here, okay, this is a more modern bishop d3 setup. 1970, they probably didn't know too much about the bishop d3. So he played the classical b3. e5. Black is trying immediately to break the center. It's possible to play this move. It leads to a slightly worse position. I actually played this move once against Grandmaster Gurevich, Dmitry Gurevich, and slightly worse position. So it's probably castle is recommended. Castle, b6, bishop b7. This is the setup. b6, bishop b7 after you castle. White is a little bit better maybe. But b3 is really not so much popular anymore. It's usually people just go bishop d3 here nowadays, if you look at the top. So after e5 here, you need to actually take on d5 here. It's very important. The key line here is take, 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 knight b5. Now they're threatening to check. This is bad because you run into bishop a3. And then your king remains in the middle of the board. So you play bishop d2 check, then he goes here, takes, and this is considered slightly better for white. Okay, it's playable for black, but you know. So, but here, for some reason, player with the black piece is Rodriguez. Whether or not maybe he wasn't familiar with the theory because he committed inaccuracy. He took on d4, and yeah, this is not a very good move because now white can just simply take on d4. And now the problem is if you take like this, you run into a very unpleasant, there are several ideas, but this in particular very unpleasant, knight f5. Now your bishop is hanging and your pawn is hanging, so you have to go back to f8, and after bishop f2, you're, let's say, not in very good shape here because what do you do next? You know, you don't want to play g6, that's weakening your position. I'm ready to play rook d1 and even take the pawn on d5. Long castle is also consideration here, actually, to go for immediate victory with bishop b5. So it's, you know, things went wrong, you know, simply here for black. So he decided here he's better off just giving up a pawn. So he played castle, but d takes c6. And now he goes 95. See, this is a good example for you not to get greedy. You know, some players, when they win some pawns, they just want to keep trying winning more pawns. But here, taking on b7 would have been a positional mistake because after bishop b7, you know, he's got some development, leading development. You might still be okay here, but he's got the rook c8 coming up, and this is probably what Rodriguez was aiming for against Petrosian, to get some leading development. But that's not what's going to happen here because Petrosian is up one pawn. And remember, safety was key for Petrosian. You know, he'd be one pawn up than two, but make sure the opponent has no counterplay. So don't be too attached about winning a lot of pawns. So just play bishop e2. Simply developing. He takes on c6, bishop e2. Up one pawn, queen a5. Now, what would you do in this position? What is black really trying to do here after queen a5? He is trying to do something, but what? Yes? Excellent thinking, very good. If you play short castle here, that's going to be a problem because he might be able to develop an unexpected attack on you with knight ge4. Okay, it's not so clear if this exactly works, but at least it looks threatening. Okay? So he played h3. See, not even allowing that, preventing everything. So knight g6. And now?
Castle.
Castle? Castle where? We could castle on two different places here. Which one we want to go to? Which one is the best? Yes? Castle queenside, correct, because now his bishop is also hanging on d6, on x-ray, and also c6 pawn is hanging as well. Okay? And now the bishop is under attack. Bishop b7. Now what do you do? There is a loose piece, right? Bishop is loose on d6.
Okay, so knight takes pawn on c7.
The problem with that is he takes back, you take on d6, he takes on g2. And then you start losing some material, and then the c file can really backfire on you because your king is there. So actually you want this pawn to remain there. You want the c pawn to remain there because that's your shield, okay? That's your shield against potential threats on a c file. Yes?
Knight e6.
Absolutely, knight e6. Attacking the rook. Rook moves, you take the bishop. So he takes. We take. Now, this is really bad now. Pawns are weak. He goes e5. Now, so we need to get the last piece into the game, correct? That rook is sitting there not doing anything. You bring it in. Now he goes knight to d5, trying to block the file. Now activate your pieces.
Bishop c4.
And now winning move here. Absolutely, that's Petrosian. Sacrifice the exchange. Now he takes. And his opponent resigned because he cannot take on c3 here because it's simply a checkmate. And what's going to happen next is knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, bishop e5 comes in, and mating threat on g7. So he cannot do anything here as well. So quick defeat, an important win for the Petrosian and the USSR team at the 1970 Olympiad. And let's take a look at this game. This is the semi-Slav opening. Okay, so this shows you how to play against the semi-Slav if they play the early breakthrough idea. Okay, is it pretty clear for everyone in this room why he resigned here, or is it still a little bit unclear?
I think it's pretty clear. He's got a shattered king position.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah,
king is
basically.
out of the game.
Yeah, basically what's going to happen is knight e4, knight g5 is coming as well. So let's say you play this move, rook h8. There are probably a lot of ways to win here, but I particularly like this knight e4, knight g5 idea, because then there is a mate on h7, and so let's say he takes just a beautiful line I want to show you. Knight g5, threatening checkmate on g7, knight f6, and who is going to find a winning move here? This is the example of the overworked piece here. The move that wins the game instantly. There are many moves that are winning. We're not just finding a wins, we're finding the instantaneous win here. Well, 94, maybe better. Instant move here by Petrosian. Alex?
Rook e7.
Absolutely correct. Threatening checkmate. This is called overworked piece, okay? Now you're threatening checkmate. If it tries to defend it, then it's smothered. Mate. He's made it, and if he takes, defender is gone. Queen h7 checkmate. Okay? So that's why he resigned, and this is probably the best thing what black can do here. But he still loses here no matter what. So again, the topic we covered today, it was, learning from legends, and I know you've had a few other legends you did already, but this was Petrosian, world champion number 9, originally from Armenia, and I was born in Armenia, and I attended the chess club that is named after Petrosian, and a very, very strong player, of course, and anyone who became world champion, I mean, especially very competitive years at that time, he had to win against very strong players. So it was very, very competitive. He remained a very strong player at the top. He was a world champion for 6 years. So it was he did very well, and very interesting style positionally, but also what the games are showing here, positional, but at the right time he was ready to attack. See, when opportunity presented here, see, a lot of players here would just take on d5 here. See, not too many people take on g6. People would take on d5, win a second pawn, and win a game. That's another way to win this. More, safer way to win it. But rook g6 is the strongest way to win it. It's not an absolute necessary thing to do. You can just take on d5 here and win. But he was ready. He didn't attack too often, but whenever he attacked, a lot of games he won by very nice mating ideas and tactical ideas where he just blew away his opponents. Very strong positionally as well. Maybe in some point, some of the lectures will show some. I will show some Petrosian games just purely on positional. Today was morely showing you some masterpieces where he won in just 20 moves basically.